I'm Derek Hurley, and I'm doing discrimination against women and African Americans. Argument: there are many misconceptions of women and African Americans that lead to discrimination and adverse health effects. So context: there's no doubt that there has been discrimination in the past with the slave trade and all that, and discrimination had been prevalent before in the U.S. with the slavery in the U.S. starting in 1619 and was not abolished until the 1800s by Abraham Lincoln. In the Looking Glass, it showed the discrimination in American society as the black cat was blamed for all the troubles that happened, and the white cat was seen as prestige and nothing bad happened to her. And by Lula Abu Head, it just demonstrates the discrimination of women in Israel by them not having the rights of owning land and all the other stuff that they are prevented from doing in Israel. So the segregation of living. Real estate agents did not show housing in white neighborhoods to African Americans. They purposely did this to segregate them from the rest of society and keep them in their own area away from everybody in town. So the segregation was due to federal, state, and local policy, and it caused less income per year as they moved to less nice neighborhoods and had to get less equal paying jobs. And then they started to move to the slums and got them into drugs because they didn't have enough money to pay for stuff, so they had to resort to other stuff in order to obtain an income. So the misconception of women. There's a prejudice about women in the workforce. A woman that is more confident is seen as more manly, and a woman that's less confident is seen as someone who is good at their job, but they don't like her. Most men don't like her in the workforce because they feel threatened by her. And a study showed that the discrimination of women, many women believe that they have to, over 50% of women said they had to prove themselves or feel they have been discriminated on the job. And then the male names, there was another survey where they had sent the same resume to a company with just different names on them, and the male names got more calls back than the female names did. So the health effects that have happened because of discrimination. So the discrimination leads to a major stressor, which can cause many adverse health effects. Low well-being and leading to less self-confidence has also occurred, and stressors can make people lose their mind and do worse on their job, causing them to lose their job and go back into the cycle of a lower paying job. So the solution: fix the drug laws that have plagued the judicial system, make stricter laws for unfair action in the workplace to make workers more accountable for their actions, enforce the stricter laws, and train about poor workplace etiquette, so have more educational opportunities to learn about how to treat other people in the workforce. So the implications: you will see less levels of stress and higher well-being as people will not be discriminated against, and they will have a higher output, more productive work days because of the less discrimination, and a less amount of jail sentencing due to the equal amount of the cocaine and crack cocaine drug sentencing. So the objection: many people think that discrimination is a thing of the past. However, 50% of women in STEM fields feel that they are discriminated against, and STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. Sentencing for crack versus cocaine, and a study found that many African Americans do not go to doctor's offices because they feel they are discriminated against every time they arrive. So limitations: there's no way to ensure that people abide by the rules. There's no way to force workers to abide by the rules. You can only tell them to do so much. Then there can be a debate about how strict the laws need to be regards to who enforces the laws and who makes the laws on what is right and lawfully, and who. It could take years and multiple tries to pass drug laws through the Congress, as you need to go through a billing process. So the perspectives: an African American man and a white man do not go together, as the white man is not discriminated against as much as the African American man would be in society. And the African American man and the white woman, they are both discriminated against, but the African American man would be discriminated in a different way than the white woman would be. And then a white judge and African American woman, the white judge would would prosecute an African American more strictly than another white person, and then a white man and a white woman. So the white man would not get discriminated against as much in the workforce as a white woman would.
All right, let's take a look at the defense questions. You talked about women and African Americans and the misperceptions of each. You covered the misperceptions of women, especially in the workplace, pretty thoroughly. I wanted some more information about the misconceptions of African Americans and the negative effects that had. So, what specific misconceptions about African Americans help lead to a lot of these negative outcomes?
What was it?
What specific misconceptions or misperceptions about African Americans helped lead to a lot of these negative outcomes that you covered?
The misconceptions of African Americans were that they are viewed as less in society by the white man. They are viewed that they cannot get a higher education level, and they are viewed that they do not.
All right, we'll take a look at the solution. The disparities in criminal, law enforcement have been a big topic in the news the last few years. And you talked about the disparities with certain types of drug sentencing and all that kind of stuff. If you had your way, you have complete control of the situation, what would you do to fix the disparities in those outcomes, specifically with drug laws and the prison system?
I would make it so that the crack cocaine and cocaine were the same sentencing, because they are the same drug, except one is just cheaper, but the cheaper one has a bigger sentence, because that's the one that the African Americans could afford in the 1900s. So they wanted to put them away for longer, so they sentenced them for longer. So I'd make it so that they're equally.
All right, excellent job. Let's hear it for Derek.